Still on international relations, talks between the United States and China have been on in Beijing and Shanghai as the U.S. Secretary of State seeks better relations and bilateral ties. The Chinese government has told Mr. Blinken that the U.S. must address rising disagreements or risk a downward spiral in relations between the two world powers. We have details in this report.
Receiving the U.S. Secretary of State, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said relations between the world's two largest economies were beginning to stabilize after President Joe Biden met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping at a November summit. But Mr. Wang added that at the same time, the negative factors in the relationship are still increasing, emphasizing that both nations are facing all kinds of disruptions, with China's legitimate development rights unreasonably suppressed. The Chinese foreign minister cautions the U.S. against stepping on China's red lines. Opening the meeting with the Chinese Foreign Minister, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he would be very clear and direct as much as possible about the areas where both nations have differences to avoid misunderstandings. He made some of the U.S. positions clear.
Look, I think that what we're seeing is a product of the relationship between those two countries. You've heard them speak to it, including just before Russia's aggression against Ukraine. We've made very clear to China, and many other countries have as well, that they should not be supplying Russia with weapons for use in its aggression against Ukraine. We've not seen the direct supply of weapons, but as I said, what we have seen is not only the direct supply, but the critical supply of inputs, of components for Russia's defense industrial base, which is allowing two things. It's allowing Russia to continue the aggression against Ukraine. It's also helping Russia overall rebuild its defense forces and defense capacity that so much damage has been done to by the Ukrainians, but also by our sanctions and export controls. And that means that not only is Russia a current threat to Ukraine, it will remain an enduring threat to other European countries. And that's why I said China can't have it both ways.
China and the U.S. have clashed in recent years on flashpoint issues from technology and trade to human rights, as well as Taiwan and the disputed South China Sea. Relations have stabilized somewhat since President Biden and Xi met in San Francisco in November for talks that both sides described as a qualified success. The two held a follow-up telephone call this month in which they clashed over U.S. trade restrictions on technology and on Taiwan, which Beijing said it would not rule out using first to bring under its control. The China-U.S. relation is beginning to stabilize, but it is still being tested by negative factors. The U.S. Secretary of State is paying his second visit to China in less than a year. His trip comes a few days after the U.S. passed a law that would force China-owned TikTok to sell the video app or be banned in America.